the decrease from the county year over year will be a net decrease of $34 million. If the county agrees to help make the system whole, or to try to support the impact or minimize the impact of that decrease by paying the P3 payment of $27 million that was referenced to earlier, the net change year over year in the contribution from the county will still be a decrease of $6.5 million. So there will be an impact from the county specifically to the school system as a whole right now. As it stands, the budget that was approved last night is increasing $50 million, but you take away that $64 million, it will be a net decrease overall. Thank you.
All righty. Thank you. Thank you very much. We're going to go, and we're pressed for time, members. I just wanted everyone to be mindful we have to get to the floor. And so really quickly, I see Delegate Lehman and then Chair Pena-Melnick, and then we're going to have to cap it at that.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I appreciate the courtesy. I am driving, and I know we are not supposed to drive and be on these meetings, but this is a really important conversation, so that is why my camera is turned off. To Mr. Young, you know, this is, again, what happens when something this significant comes in as a late filed bill. I cannot emphasize enough, you know, how frustrating it is that this conversation began in January. It's not the time to launch a conversation about something so significant. But be that as it may, the description, and I don't think you're glossing over intentionally, but the description of the change in the telecom tax, you know, first of all, we cannot compare ourselves to Montgomery County. Montgomery County has unique taxing authority under state law. It does not need permission from the General Assembly to do anything. The Montgomery County Council and county government can, you know, impose any kind of fees or taxes they want. So it's not, you know, it's not a fair comparison. It's apples to oranges. I requested on behalf of the delegation some information from the legislative library about what other counties were doing this. Montgomery aside, and I couldn't see in the law that they had recently imposed an excise tax. At least that's not what the library turned up. Anne Arundel has never done it. Now, maybe the Anne Arundel delegation gave the Anne Arundel County Council the ability to do it. They have never exercised that. So we don't really have any other county to look to. But my question is, again, about the 3%. You're characterizing it as if it is, it's on new devices. It is not. We contemplated, as did every other county years and years ago, that we could not just apply this tax to landlines. Obviously, everybody was switching to mobile devices. I was told that this was about what percentage of the bill gets taxed. And 3%, we can all get our mind around that. But instead of the 9% tax that's in the law now, only applying to, you know, the line itself, the phone line itself, that now, and please clarify this, the 3% would apply to everything associated with the phone, all the apps, all the additional services, streaming, and whatever else. Am I misunderstanding what you're trying to do? Could you please clarify that?
Madam Chair,
yeah, I'm sorry. Right before you answer that, Mr. Young, I just want to clarify one thing. While we did hear this bill during our late file bill hearing, the request for both of these bills was actually sent to DLS in October. And I'm sure, as all of the members had experienced this legislative session, DLS was very slow with a lot of members' bills, including some of the delegation bills. So I do want to clarify that while it was part of our late file bill hearing, that was not the intent. We just never got the bill back in time from DLS to have it as part of our regular public bill hearing in December. So I just wanted to clarify.
Madam Chair, I thank you for that footnote. I did not realize that. However, I would just say the administration knows how to work a bill. We could have been getting calls and office visits and emails about the fact that this was in the pipeline. No, I don't know about the rest of you, but absolutely no one reached out to me about this. This is so consequential. There should have been early conversations, like when that drafting request went in. Respectfully, thank you.
No problem. No problem. Mr. Young, if you want to answer the other questions, I did just want to kind of clarify that.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And so, Delegate Lehman, I did want to respond to those pieces around what the telecommunications tax versus the excise piece would be, is that this is not a changing to a 3%. I think the excise piece is going to be a flat rate of $3.50, the maximum of $3.50 placed on those lines. And so while the sales tax piece of this does only apply to a certain portion, I think that is part of the modernization and why Montgomery County has the excise piece. And to your point, this wasn't a new change that Montgomery County has had the excise piece, is that it does apply to all of the use and services of our phones, but it is a flat rate. And so that's the difference between the sales tax there and then the excise piece. And so when I mentioned Anne Arundel County, it was to mention that they have a similar sales tax, and they've also seen the decreasing of revenue based on the fact that we use our phones differently than we did when these taxes went in. And so this was not to compare apples to oranges, understanding that Montgomery County does have local taxing authority, but looking at those who use the excise tax, it is a more modern and appropriate way as we look at how we use our phones now. And so it will be across all of the devices, not newer devices or somehow exempting devices, but it would be a change from how we look at our sales tax to then how we use the excise piece. And so thank you, Madam Chair. I think that was the main question there around those two pieces. And so hopefully that's clear and not mischaracterizing those pieces. Definitely want it to be clear the difference between the sales tax that we currently have and this bill providing the flexibility for the council to use an excise tax.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Chair Pena-Melnick.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, everyone, for being here and helping us, get all the facts. So my question will be for Superintendent House, and you probably won't have the answer, given that the board, as Delegate Martinez said, voted last night their budget, and they have these money in the budget, right? They voted as if this bill did not exist. I would like to know when we do get to a vote, before we do, what is the impact, whether we're out 64 million or we're out 6.5 million? I like to know what will be cut and what will be different in that budget, right? So that I know what I'm voting for, and I can explain it to my constituents. I know you won't have that right now, and so we probably should, hold the bill and get those answers, because look at the time already. So do you think you can get that for us?
So there is a reconciliation process that if the bill were to move forward, we would go through that reconciliation process and make those decisions at that particular time. Are you asking to have those have a complete secondary budget before the vote?
I would like to know, when you reconcile and you're going to look at that budget, I want to know what you're going to cut, right? I like to be able to know that before I vote. And I think that's a fair question, right? Like, what is it that is going to be going away so that we can then know and be able to explain it to my constituents when they say you voted for this? I want to know I knew what I voted for and I stand by it. But I can't do that today without knowing what you're going to reconcile or what you will cut.
That's fair. We'll
And I do, thank you so much. And I do want to say thank you so much for sitting down with the county executive and everyone to work this out. Like, we need to work together as a county. It's so important.
agree.
Thank you.
And
You're muted.
I didn't realize I was muted. Sorry, I was just talking. Mr. Young, I see you want to kind of also address something that Chair Pena-Melnick said, and I don't know if you saw that. I think. Okay. I think there's a request for, I guess, kind of similar information from the county as well as to what would happen from the county's budget perspective with the implementation of if these two bills were to pass. And then we really do got to move on because we got to get to the floor in a few minutes. So.
Correct, Madam Chair, and I would offer that as well to Delegate Pinkham-Melnick, that as we're looking at this, we look at the school system budget as, you know, a part of this, but there is implications on the county side as well in terms of what these bills mean to our same constituents. And so when we look at FY24 for the school system and FY25, there's, you know, even with these bills, we'll be receiving a net income in their budget. And so when we look at their budget proposals, I think it's a little unfair to say cuts because we pass bills all the time as we are still working through budgets. And so I think that they would have to, it is a restructuring if these bills were to pass, but it's still with an increase from what they have from FY24. And so what they were able to do in FY24, they would have additional funds even with these bills to do it. But on the county side, you know, there are going to be, you know, if these bills were not to pass, real impacts to our same constituents in terms of our trash pickup, in terms of our stormwater management projects, in terms to the aid that we're able to provide to our nonprofits that do provide these critical services. It's going to be tangible results, and not just for this year, but in years future. And so I think as we look for, you know, the big thing here is that we're looking to mitigate some of that impact to our same constituents with these bills while still making sure that we can fund our schools at the blueprint levels. And so I think that's the important piece. So as the school system is looking at their budget with additional money from the state, and I think it's important to look at all of the shares of money that they get, not just county contribution, but from federal and from the state. And the state is making those decisions as well of how we make sure our schools receive this educational funding to provide world-class education. This gives the county tools to do that while not making critical cuts. And our cuts are actualized in this budget, that we've already started making these cuts. We're already making cuts on the county side to try to, as much as we can, limit the impact to our constituents. So I think that's a point that I did want to make clear. And thank you, Delegate Pinkham, for bringing this up because, you know, budgets do have impact, and I think they do for the county as well.
Okay. Thank you.
May I respond, please? Because he replied, thank you so much. So thank you. So Mr. Young, last night I was in my office late and I received a letter from Chairman of the Council, Jolene Ivey, which had everything that you just stated. But what I did not have on my desk last night in anticipation, because I prepared to do this vote, is the same from the superintendent, because last time he was here, before you sat down, he stated that mental health and disability, right, those programs will be cut. So since now things have changed, I want to know what, if those are not going to be cut, what is it? Because I received your letter. It's clear to me what the impact will be, and I read it. But what I didn't have and was missing from my desk was his response. So that's all I'm asking for, okay? I am very balanced. Thank you.
Delegate Tolles, and I see a
Yes.
House. I know you want to respond.
No, I just have a quick question, if that's okay.
Sure.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. They can get back to me with the information, but a couple questions, and I haven't asked a question all day, so this is my first question.
I know.
So thank you for allowing me to have the opportunity. So the question, I guess you can get back to me, Ron, is number one, what exactly are the cuts? And if you put it in the letter, I am so sorry. We've been swamped here. So if you can tell me quickly, like, some significant cuts that will be made, even if this passes, because I think it's important for the public to know that. And then second question is, as a former council member, I wanted to know, so that's, knowing how cuts work as a former council member, that's my question. But my second question is, I think that Delegate Austin brought up in terms of development. Can you tell me, in the time that the administration and any council members, have they been there, have they waived the education fee that has to be paid when development has happened in the county? I know that oftentimes when I was there was bills from the administration or even council members who wanted to encourage development, but waived the development fee that's given for education and public safety. So can you tell me, in the last 5 years or 6 years has that been, has a bill been put in to waive that fee for any developers? Thank you, because that is money that we have lost over the years. And I think that if based off our budget constraints and wanting to fund and the importance of funding the blueprint, we need to make sure that we deter that from happening. But I would like to know if that has happened in the past 5 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate Tolles. And if I could respond, Madam Chair,
Yes, really quickly.
briefly.
Can I ask, I'm sorry to cut in, but I'm looking at the time. It's 10:46.
I
We
know.
really got, Mr. Young, I'm just going to ask if you want to say it really quickly because the bell's about to ring and we have to be on the floor. We cannot continue. And then from there, Madam Chair, I'm going to ask you
at
to,
that point.
yes.
Okay.
Thank you. And so I'll be brief, and Delegate Tolles, I will have to get back to you on the latter part of your question. But on the first part, just to be blunt around the major cuts, I mean, we're talking about our Fair Election Fund. We're talking about a PAYGO funding, our reentry program funding, arts and humanity councils. We're talking about critical trash pickup, tree trimming, services, support to our libraries, funding for our nonprofits that we get for grants, strategic community grants. All of those would be negatively impacted if these bills weren't to pass. And so when we look at, in closing, look at the budget and we talk about budget holes and budget gaps and cuts, when we look at the money that we are putting into education through the blueprint and the investments that both the county and the state are making, that when a department, and all of our departments are coming back this year with budget cuts, all the departments across our jurisdiction. And so when we look at the county school system that's receiving more money net than what they received last year, I would not characterize that as a cut. I think that's intellectually dishonest to say that an increase in any regard is a cut.
Okay. We're going to have to move on. It's 10:47. Right now, there's a motion to recommit on the floor. I'm willing to hold both bills till next Friday. One, that will give Delegate Alston time to do her amendment, but I can only do this for one more week and that will be it. We're going to have to move on. But right now we have the motion to recommit on the floor. So Delegate Alston, I don't know if you want to withdraw your motion and then we can do a motion to hold.
Yes, based on your assertion that you will hold this bill till next Friday, I'm willing to withdraw the motion.
Okay. Can I get a motion in a second on the whole?
Second.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Second. Yeah.
Just
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
all right, opposed? All right, so we're going to revisit both of these tomorrow. I expect to have the amendment as soon as possible from Delegate Alston, and we'll circulate that amongst the members, and we will take up a vote on both of these matters on Friday. Thank you all. This concludes the meeting of the Prince George's County House Delegation for February the 23rd, 2024. The time is now 10:49 a.m. Thank you all so much for joining us, and we will see you next
This
week.
belongs
Thank you.
Thank you.